Hey everyone, this is Paul Gale from paulgalenetwork.com, and thank you for joining me today for video game news. It is February 3rd, 2021, and these are the top stories of the day. To kick things off, we've got to talk about EA because they announced that they're bringing back NCAA college football. It's been quite a few years since we've had college football video games from EA. Obviously, they've been doing NFL titles forever, and those have never ended. Those have never had a stop, I should say. But NCAA, been a while. It will be interesting to see how well it's received coming back. Is there still an interest? I think it will hold a place in the market because there definitely are fans of the game of football that prefer college football based off of their former university or what have you over NFL. NFL obviously is bigger. It is reached larger audience worldwide instead of people associating, with particular schools and the brand of a school. Easier to pick up and, find some type of association with a team that's your favorite. Even if you're not from North America, NFL has kind of branched out into other parts of the world. Although, of course, if you're into the NFL, you're probably in the United States, as that is the main targeted audience. But cool to see EA do something like that in bringing back NCAA football. Speaking of EA, we have one more thing to talk about from them. Something cool right here. I'm just going to play the trailer. We've had rumors for a while. Now we've got confirmation. Remastered in 4K Ultra HD. We're looking at Mass Effect. The Legendary Edition. A strong trilogy of games with a good take on the RPG genre. Fit your itch if you were into sci-fi, if you were into space. Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 in here.
Born to do this.
It's pretty cool. It's a nice graphic right there too. Available for pre-order now. Yeah, that's it. You'll have to let me know what you think. Were you a fan of the Mass Effect series? Were you not? Or are you looking forward to this trilogy coming out? Are you going to pre-order? Let me know in the comments below. I think it's good to see EA bring out the 3 games, remaster them, put them in 4K, include all of the DLC, and do that on these new consoles. Hopefully tap into an audience, maybe a newer audience that missed out on them originally, and eventually come out with a brand new Mass Effect title later on after this builds up a little bit of hype. Kind of like what I hope Nintendo does with Metroid Prime. I want to see Metroid Prime 1, 2, 3 remastered, come out with a strong trilogy. They've been released as a trilogy before, but bringing it out on Nintendo Switch would be great, especially if Prime 1, for instance, was really given a visual overhaul. I think that would be quite significant of a change, getting a lot of people pumped up. And then, of course, Metroid Prime 4. But anyways, double props to EA on the NCAA college front, bringing football back, and this Mass Effect trilogy. Okay, to get some good news out of the way, we got kind of some not so fun news. First up, I'm just going to get right to it. There are no images, just news on this one, so I'm using the Zelda.com imagery while I talk. It's still not completely confirmed, but there was a time where just a few years ago we had rumors going around that there was going to be a live action Legend of Zelda series that come out on Netflix. Nintendo, Netflix working together to do this, and then we've just had radio silence for the last few years. That really sounded exciting. I mean, the Legend of Zelda series is one of my favorites in all of gaming, you know? And whether they had just kind of an original story or a telling of Ocarina of Time or just, picking pieces of different Zelda games and just kind of running with it, whether it was one season, a 10 episode run, or something that lasted longer, I was stoked at the possibility. Of course, it was a rumor. But we found out recently, supposedly, that due to that leak coming out, that nobody was supposed to open their mouth, that nobody was supposed to say anything, very few people were supposed to learn about it. Nintendo saw it as a big slap in the face, apparently, if the story is true, that somebody from Netflix leaked it out there. And they were so turned off, Nintendo that is, that they decided cancel the whole project. We're not working with it, and we're just scrapping it, and that's it. Nothing more to be said on. If this is true, and some bridges were burned between Nintendo and Netflix, I could see that as a possible reason for why the Netflix app has never come out to Nintendo Switch. Netflix obviously came out earlier on Wii U and on 3DS, but somewhere along the line when the Zelda thing was supposed to happen and then this leak came out and put a sour, piece on the relationship, maybe that's why Netflix never came to Nintendo Switch. Hard to say. That's just speculation on my part, and that's even if this thing is true. But what a shame if that is true, because dang, if handled correctly, and reports are suggesting that it was going to be kind of like a PG rated take on Game of Thrones, we could have had something really powerful. And depending on when it was going to be filmed and when it would be releasing, you would have to imagine that there'd be no better time than the 35th anniversary, which is right now, to release this, come out with a new Netflix series, live action, new games, some partnerships. It would be huge. But that's not the worst of the story. Well, depending on how big of a fan you are of this next franchise, the Zelda news of that not happening might be the worst. But the other bad thing is Star Fox. Apparently, with the Robot Chicken folks, we're supposed to get a new Star Fox claymation or puppeteering animated series as well. A project at the very least. And talk about some people that were completely affected when it didn't have anything to do with them. Thanks to the Zelda leak coming out, individuals that were working on Star Fox, Nintendo decided let's part with anybody on any type of creation of any new series right now. So a Star Fox series project was supposed to occur at some point as well. And I think seeing Star Fox in claymation or puppeteering, kind of like the Jim Henson puppeteering work that we had at E3 several years ago with Mr. Iwata, Mr. Miyamoto, and Mr. Reggie Fils-Aimé, would have been really cool to see. We obviously did get Star Fox Zero. We got that 15-minute or so animated short. Star Fox Zero wasn't the best received, but it was still a fun game. I think an animated style would really suit the series well, but going in that puppeteering route, claymation, if the claymation's right, I really see it more as puppeteering working the best, but it could go a few different routes. This looks like a cool project that we'll probably never get to see. You never know. Nintendo could always venture back in. Obviously, they did partner up with Illumination Studios and Universal. In fact, just a couple of days ago, it was the 2-year anniversary of that official announcement. And we are getting a CG Mario movie within the next couple of years, hopefully. So Nintendo is open to it, but we'll see what happens because I would love to see more of my beloved Nintendo IP in film, anime form, whether it's live action, CG, hand drawn art, claymation, puppeteering. It would be really cool. Star Fox in particular just seems like the kind of franchise where you'd have a fun morning animated cartoon, I really got that strong vibe from that 15-minute short a few years ago when Star Fox Zero came out on Wii U. So that's the only bummer of the news today. If this whole leak thing is true, and that's what put Nintendo off in working with others to do some cartoons or live action takes, too bad. Hopefully it comes back. I think it will eventually. And finally today, in video game news, Sony announced its quarter financials, and the PlayStation 5, which, keep in mind, has only been out for a month and a half as of this report, from mid-November to December 31st, has already sold 4.5 million units to date. That's a strong debut. You're looking at only benefiting from a couple of weeks of November, the whole month of December, and hitting 4.5 million means that the PS5 is equal to the PS4 in terms of how fast it's moving. Sony also announced that they plan on releasing at least 3 million more PlayStation 5 units out there by the end of the fiscal report for March 31st. So we're looking at February 3rd right now. Maybe we could expect that close to 1 million have been shipped in the month of January, with 2 million more plus to go. So you're looking at somewhere around 7.5 to maybe upwards of 8 million PS5s out there by March 31st. That's pretty impressive. The system is going to sell as fast as Sony could crank them out. PS4 ended a generation of gaming really positively for Sony, and people are down with the PlayStation brand right now in a good way. And the PS5 probably will sell at least as well as the PS4 if I had to guess. PS4, meanwhile, is looking like it will probably be around 120 or so million selling console right now in its lifetime. It may not quite hit that, but regardless, it's going to be a success. It's going to end up being Sony's second best-selling console ever. PS5, we'll see how well that does. So far it goes PS2 at number 1, followed by PS4 at number 2, the original PlayStation at number 3, and then the PlayStation 3 at number 4. Of course, if you look at the handhelds fit in there a little bit differently. The PSP being a solid system, selling in the 80 million territory, and the PS Vita, not doing particularly well in that sub 15. But that's going to do it today for video game news. Let me know what you thought. Mass Effect, NCAA, Legend of Zelda and Star Fox not coming out, supposedly, if those rumors are true, and about the PS5 sales data. It's going to be a strong generation. Looks like on the Xbox side, there are around 3.2 or so million Xbox Series S and X's sold. So also a pretty strong performance from Microsoft for its first month and a half on the market with their new console. I think PS5 is more likely to outsell the Xbox Series brand of consoles throughout this generation, but I think the split between Xbox and PlayStation is not going to be as great as it was in the Xbox One versus PS4 era. Meanwhile, Nintendo Switch, no signs of slowing down. I think it's going to be a system that, does past 120 million. Will it get to that DS and PS2 level, that 154, 156 zone? Hard to say, but getting into like 125 territory, it's almost a guaranteed done deal. But that's going to do it today for video game news. Like I said, thanks for watching. PGN signing out. Hope you all have a good one. Bye.